What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Rage Traders NRL Supercoach podcast. Wolfie here, and today we have an absolute banger for you. Of course, a massive change has happened with NRL Supercoach, and the stats now being recorded instead of being at Fox Stats, now from NRL Stats directly. This has had massive implications and changes to everyone's strategy. This has changed the course of NRL Supercoach. However, I'm here today to help you and assist you sort of build a better strategy and get a better understanding of which players now sit in a better position because of this stats change. So, strap in, get some popcorn, get a beverage, get ready, because I have the SC versus NRL stats comparison for most owned players in 2026. And I have to say, it wasn't me. Thank you to Brandon Savage from the Supercoach experience. He's gifted me with this because I've been panicking, thinking, how am I going to get information out to you to help you with your Supercoach game? So before we get started, please like, subscribe, and comment for the algorithm on YouTube. Of course, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, a 5-star review truly helps me. So it takes less than a minute. Do it, and it would be greatly appreciated. All right, let's get straight into this. So before I get into the actual comparison, I just wanted to let you know where I'm at, because I actually have been tinkering a bit with strategy and what I think we need to be looking at in building our NRL Supercoach team. Now, there is no doubt that people or players, that are tackling more are going to benefit more from the changes, because before in Fox Stats, it was the two main tacklers got the tackle made points. Now, it coming over to NRL, if that third person in the tackle is there, like a Reed Marnie, like a Harry Grant, like a hooker that sort of comes in and gets the legs and wraps up to complete the tackle, that's also going to be counted as a tackle with this new scoring system. This is huge for the hookers, a lot of the mids and forwards that play in the middle of the defense. This is absolutely huge. And I was also thinking, this could be also really, really good for teams that aren't in the top 8, teams that are defending a lot and tackling a lot, and that's something that we might need to look into. But, however, let's get into it. I think tomorrow I'm going to be doing a team reveal for the updated scoring system and what I'm looking at doing currently. But today, let's get into it. So to start with, Isaiah Yeo. Wow, I can't believe I'm speaking about him, because I haven't really spoken about him at all, but right now he warrants and has one of the best changes, I think, with the scoring system, because of the caliber of player he is, but also the team he's in. 2RF position. Currently, he's priced at, let me bring this up for you, because we should also bring up the prices as well, besides just the differential in points from going Fox Stats to NRL. $610,100. 2RF position, 62.4 Supercoach average. With the NRL stats average, however, 68.6. This is a 6.2 difference. So I think where I sort of sit with this is, I think this is a very, very safe pick. I don't think he's someone that's going to go out and get a 75-80, however. If you said to me, who would I choose, Yo or Couchman, who are very similar in prices, Couchman being a bit less, that would be a very tough question to answer. I just think with the Penrith opening draw as well, that could lead him to tackling a bit more, because they might be on the defense a bit more, or they'll just be those like kind of grindy games that are kind of like finals like. But we know the Penrith draw is very tough. Broncos away, Sharks at home, Sydney Roosters away, Parramatta at home, Melbourne at home, Bulldogs away. That's a very tough opening draw. So for me, I love that there's an increase there. I'm still not rushing towards him, but he's definitely being considered. Do you pay up for a Tino? Do you go down for a Toby Couchman? Do you just sit down like 100K down and go a Hopgood? These are the things I'm sort of weighing up, but it's good to know that he's got a bit of a 6.2 buffer to his name. That's very good on a $610,000 price. He also, might I add, not had a decline, but he could possibly have a bit less output. That's something we also need to see. Like, he's not the yo of old, 0.83 ppm, average base of 53, which is nice. Average 62 points in 75 minutes as well. So I mean, like a bit up and down as well. Last season, gets a 90, then gets a 41, then gets a 56, then gets a 60, then gets an 85. So it's a bit of up and down, but still, I think he warrants to be talked about, and that's why we're speaking about him. So if you're someone that's plugging in Yo to be safe and hopefully get a bit more value, I think that's completely fine. Next is Daniel Atkinson, 20.8 points on a Supercoach average, 26.5 on the NRL average with the 5.7 increase. I've spoken about him before. I think even Sanders, if he does get the kicking, that's just the go-to pick. But if Daniel Atkinson, looks really good in these preseason trials, and I know I've got this data behind it, I think it could be a very, very easy switch for me. So I really just want to see how he pairs with the St. George team. I've always said he's an amazing player. I thought he should never have left Sharks. He's got a really promising future, and I think St. George have snapped up a really good player. So I'm hoping that turns into, what the words that I'm saying turns into action, and he follows that, because he could be a very easy cheapie pick for us in the halfback position. And basically, I think he's at basement price as well, which is even good, or even better, $235,600. That's really good as well. I won't talk about ownerships in this, because I think over the next few days they're going to change a lot, and they're just going to go all over the place. So I'm not going to mention ownerships here for now, but in upcoming videos I will, once it's all settled after this scoring system change. All right, let's go to the next player, someone who I looked at before this scoring change, and now I'm still a bit worried. Will Warbrick, CTW, I shouldn't say I'm worried, but 47 SC stat average, then goes to a 52.5 NRL stat average. 5.5 difference, okay? The biggest thing here for me is I don't think he's going to go flying towards the 60s. I know he's in the Melbourne Storm team, a great team. Cameron Munster loves doing a little chip kick, high ball for his wingers. But with the loss of Eli Katoa, if that is 100% happening, which I assume it is, how much are they really going to go to the right-hand side? That's what's really getting me. I feel like with the attack, like, look, if they have an overlap and the right side is there, of course, it's going to go to, Munster, Jerome Hughes. It's going to swing out right. But I just feel like it's going to go left a lot. Now, the crazy thing about this is all it takes is one try for Warbrick, and he's basically going to make you money. He's super, super cheap. He's sitting at $413,700, 10% owned. I'm just going to talk about it because that's quite low ownership. I think we may even see that buffed up a bit over time. And if he does do some really nice stuff in the preseason challenge, I think a lot of people will go there. But also on the back of that, where I'm sort of worried about him as a super coach player is his scores haven't been like crazy. Like last season, although he got injured, he gets a 43, a 40, a 42, and then a 63 against Broncos in the last round when they were resting players. That's coming off like a massive gap of a year too. Maybe I'm looking at this too like microscopy, like I'm trying to find wrong things with it. Maybe he's just a safe pick. I mean, last season, $459,500. Melbourne have a really nice opening draw. Maybe with no Eli Katoa, he's a bit more of a target there on that right side. So maybe I'm looking at it a bit wrong. Let me know what you think in the comments about Warbrick, whether you're starting him. I'm actually really, really curious. But again, he has a 5.5 difference for obviously the positive, which is really, really good. Next one, a big talking point here. Herbie Farnworth, CT Dubs, averaging a whopping 84.4 Supercoach stats average. Then with this NRL change, 89.8. That's a 5.4 increase for him. I'm still very, I shouldn't say I'm scared of going him, but I'm just really worried about going too many players that are highly priced. Now, what also gets me is that they verse Souths, right? And if Campbell Graham is obviously on his side and he locks him up pretty well, I assume Campbell Graham will play wing, but definitely we know he's an elite defender. They only have Gold Coast to verse, which again, Herbie could do really good. Sharks away, into Broncos away, into Manly at home, into bye. It's a lot of money. It really is a lot of money. But with the increase, I think a lot of people are saying he's basically a massive, massive lock in. And of course, $825,600. That is not a cheap price. So I'm really, really interested to see how that goes. My opinion is I think a lot of people are just going to start with him and trade down if it doesn't perform the way they think. But I think also if you don't start with him and he does really good against Souths and he does really good against Gold Coast, you're losing a lot of points. And that's the scary part for me. So I would be leaning more to starting with him because of that. And it is a bit of FOMO, but I mean, the guy scored 1,604 points in 19 games. He went on an absolute blast as well towards the end of the season. Whether he starts like that is the biggest question. Does he start fast? Because towards the end of the season, 105, 150, 106, 86, 105, 77, 69. Start of the season are 65, 58 against Newcastle, 85 against West Tigers, 69 against Broncos. Even if you bump that up with the average, you know, some of these games he is going to be losing a bit of money. You really need him to be scoring. You really need him to actually be getting some type of attacking stat. And obviously with the changes, it is looking more favorable for him because he might get the extra try assist because he might have the last pass. And there's a high chance he's just the try scorer. That's something that's really, really good about it. So I think there's a comfort there if you do go Herbie, that you know that he's capable of getting it to the Cobbo on the left and him getting an easy try assist. So yeah, that's something that I think is a positive about it. So I'm not mad either way. If you say you're starting with Herbie, I'm more scared because I don't even want to watch his games if I didn't own him. Next, Harry Grant at hooker position. 62 Supercoach average, 67.2 with the NRL stats average. This is an increase of 5.2 points. That's absolutely huge. I think he's pretty much, for me, close to a lock-in my team, to be honest with you. $606,300. Even if Melbourne are a tiny bit worse this season, that's just going to promote him doing more tackles. He's going to be the center core of defense for this team. He's going to maybe have to do a bit more in playmaking. To me, it's just like a shoe-in pick. I'm very interested. 24% ownership now. That's pretty big, and I think it's going to go up. I think the more people look at this, the more people see the changes and hear the changes, it's going to go up as well. Parramatta. Melbourne have a very nice opening draw as well. They come up against Parramatta, which is what I was leading to at home. St. George away, then Broncos at home, North Queensland away, Penrith away, New Zealand at home, Canberra away, South at home, Dolphins away. So a pretty nice opening draw as well. And I think if he's someone you can just hold until Origin, it's going to be a very nice pick, especially with these tackle changes again. I just think he benefits highly from it because his price is low, but also because of the changes in Melbourne as well. There's a lot of positives, and I think he's very, very close. I can't say it, but he's very, very close to being a must-have, especially with the price he is. All right, next I have someone who I'm actually very, very big on, and I will be starting with this guy in my team unless he looks very, very bad in the preseason challenge or the team doesn't look good. KL Ero, 72.2 Supercoach stats average, 77.2 on the NRL stats average. That's a 5-point increase. And I just really like him as a player. Again, we're saying that the center position is the one that's really going to get more out of these changes because of the likelihood or higher chance of a try assist going to their name now. And I think KL Ero's unders. I think he's a great player, although he can have some lowish score games. So can every other center W. You know what I mean? Started off quite strong, 65, 111, 85-61 against the Bulldogs. Great start, then gets injured. Comes back in round 9 against Parramatta for a 71. 84-77, 103. Slight increase there, and I love the Cronulla Sharks opening draw. Gold Coast at home, Penrith away, which is a tough one. Then Dolphins at home, Canberra away, New Zealand at home, Sydney at home, by into North Queensland away, West Tigers and Souths. So that's pretty damn good. Again, I'm not 100% he's locked in, never moving. No, you still got the likes of Karaz, still got the likes of Herbie that I still am tinkering with. So I think there's a lot to talk about here. And I'd be interested to see. I think there's going to be people out there that just go for premium centers and they just load into this scoring stats change and they don't care. And then they play like 2 cheap halfbacks or 2 cheap 5/8. So it's going to be very interesting to see how people pair with that. But yeah, KO Lero, a nice change there. Next one, another center people are very keen on, Valentine Holmes, 75.1 Supercoach stats average into a 79.9. That's a 4.8 difference for the positive. Really like this. I'm not a big fan of starting with him, but I love that he's the goal kicker as well. That's even more of a plus. It's more just St. George as a team, and that's just something we're going to have to wait to see in the preseason challenge, and also just seeing how they play as a team to start with. I think if you do start with him, completely fine. I think he is a bit unders, to be honest with you. I mean, he's capable definitely of doing better than a $734,200 price tag, for sure. We know his capability. It's more the Dragons team that I'm just a bit worried about, but I could be completely wrong. I mean, he came out last season against the Bulldogs for a 70-pointer. That's really good. Then had a 40-pointer, a 71 against Melbourne, 77 against Parramatta, 97 against Gold Coast. The thing, he only had over 100 points once last season. That was against Parramatta in round 17. Again, missed round 20 to round 27 with the injury. So, bit discounted. Nice to see. But it's more about how they start. I think they start better as a team, to be honest with you as well. But versing Bulldogs away into Melbourne at home, Parramatta away, Gold Coast away, North Queensland is very, very nice, however. It's actually very tempting when you see round 3 to round 7 being Parramatta away, Gold Coast away, North Queensland at home, which surely he'd want to play very, very well into Manly at home, into Souths away. That's hard to pass up. That is hard to pass up. All right, next I have Toby Couchman, front row forward, 2RF, dual position, 60.2 boosted up to a 64.7 for a 4.5 increase. Really like it. Cheap, 580-ish thousand for memory. We'll double check that here. I think, again, playing for the St. George Dragons, 588,300. Playing for the St. George Dragons, where they've lost some key players in the front row forward pack. He has to step up here. I think he has to be the lead guy, and Hamish Stewart follows. But again, if they have games where they're just getting slaughtered, that is less time of him running, less time of him doing things with the ball. And again, it's mostly going to be him having minutes on the field that are a bit wasted. So I think a lot of what his stats rely on is them actually being slightly competitive. And that's why I think some people are hesitant to go at some of these Dragons players, because they don't trust how Dragons are going to be this season. But we could be completely incorrect and wrong. Atkinson comes in. He's playing phenomenally. I mean, Sully, try assists, Clint Gutherson, everything's clicking. They look better, and we could be completely incorrect. That's just my opinion, So take it as a grain of salt. Take it as a grain of salt. Next one that actually interested me, I don't know how much, but Angus Crichton, 2RF, 62.4 into a 66.7. That's a 4.3 increase. Really interesting. Someone who I actually was never really looking at. I've spoken about this in other videos before, but 610,200 is quite nice. I don't know how their attack starts at the start of the season, if they're going to be the Roosters that they are sort of mid to late season when they're just doing 30 to 40 to 50 points a game sometimes. That's all that worries me. Would you rather an Isaiah Yeo, a Toby Couchman, a Jermaine Hopgood, who could have just more of a consistent game, who do seem to maybe tackle a bit more as well? I think I would lean that way personally. I think Crichton is more of an attack reliant player, whereas the players that I've just mentioned can just get away from not even having an attacking play in the game and just getting an easy 60. So that's where I kind of sit with that. And he's a bit of a risk. Last season in the NRL as well, does he sort of take it easy, or does he just come out firing and say, I'm going to give it all I got? More of a wait and see for me. But again, if you go Angus Crichton, you're just relying on a bit of attack, in my opinion. Reece Robson, I'm not going to touch on this too much, but a 50.9 to a 54.9, a 4-point increase. But I think he might have reduced minutes, and I need to see that he's an 80-minute hooker before I even go there. So I'm not going to talk about him heavily too much. Tanela Paseka, front row forward position, 48 to a 51.7, a 3.7 increase. That's really good to see from someone who is quite a cheapie in the lowish $300,000 mark. So I think he's just a shoe-in for me now that I've seen that, and he's going to get even more of a bit of an increase. Keon Kolomatangi, front row forward position, 68.2 to a 71.5. I think you're going to see a lot of teams, if Colo looks really, really good in the prop position for South Sydney Rabbitohs in the preseason challenge, I think you're either going to see Tino Colo, front row forwards, or you're going to see Haas Colo. And then if Tino gets dual position with FRF and 2RF, he'll be sitting at 2RF1. I think that's going to be like the three big honchos that people start with. Again, he gets only a 3.3 increase here, Colo, but still that's pretty good to see. I still think he's slightly discounted. We know what he's capable of. Switched to the prop position and absolutely carved up. So I think a lot of people are really looking forward to seeing how he sort of comes back. Let's just bring up his price here so we can make sure that we have the price, 666,500. I mean, for someone who can put up an easy 75, has one of the biggest bases in the game as well, that is very scary. The one thing I didn't speak about at the start is I really think they should have done price changes for all of this based on knowing the scoring system. I find that it's quite baffling, to be honest. I think there's some gems that we can possibly try and find. I'm going to try that in the back end and get that information to you guys. But yeah, let's get back to Colo. I mean, you can see when he was in different positions, 65, 33, 49, really bad scores. And then all of a sudden, switches to prop, goes 109, 119, a 73, a 76, a 45 in 60 minutes, a 67 in 80 minutes. Then he got injured. I mean, he's capable of easily going into the 70s. So I think there is value there, and there'll be an increase. So we'll have to wait and see. But he could be a darn good pick for you. All right. Payne Haas, 87.2 to 90.4, a 3.2 increase. It's getting close to maybe Payne Haas just has to be a must start with that type of information. Part of me, it's getting close to like 1 a.m. But I will try to give you guys as much information as possible until I fall asleep. This is really big. I think him getting the increase is only good. The thing that worries me the most, and the only thing that worries me, is does he play a bit more conservative and there's less offloads? That is literally the only thing. If I see him offloading in preseason challenge, I think it's pretty much an all-in. He's a consistent captain pick. They have quite a nice draw the Broncos as well. It's not too hard at all. Besides sort of like Penrith, they go into Parramatta at home, Melbourne away, which is tough, and then it opens up to Dolphins, Gold Coast away, North Queensland at home, West Tigers away. That's really, really nice. He's close to being like in my opinion, he's the only must have. Everything else, there's some borderline must haves like Harry Grant now, but I think Payne Haas, you've just got to plug in there. I think he'll be at like 50% plus captaincy on the first round. So take that as you will, but it's looking like even with this little bump up, that's just more of a buffer to you starting with him now. A pick here, really good to see actually. Reed Marnie, hooker position, 42.8, 45.9 on the NRL stats. So that's a 3.1 increase. I think he's pretty much close to being maybe like having a Harry Grant Reed Marnie. I've tinkered with that. I don't know about this Brandon Smith play now that I can see a bit extra, but I'm not saying that's 100% a play. But nice to see a bit of a bump there. Also, Sonny Luke sort of does scare me a bit, but and now with the 6-man interchange, that kind of says to me, if I see him there, anything can happen. But yeah, if you want to start, maybe you want to just start with Reed Money. Don't go Harry Grant or Blake Bradley. That's completely fine. I think he'll be a great play in that sense. Jacob Carraz, center wing position, 76.4 to a 79.5 with a 3.1 increase. Mostly the second round buy is what's going to put a lot of people off, but good to see that he has that little bump there. Again, I feel like there's just this massive battle of whether you start with Carraz, Herbie, Holmes, Iro, sort of have two of the four. Very interesting to see what the most will be. I think a lot of people will go like Herbie definitely into just one of those three or plus more. But yeah, I think Herbie's just going to be the staple that a lot of people start with as well. Okay. Nafahu White, not one that I'm really, really big on talking about, FRF, 2RF. More that I think he's just reached his potential in terms of like points, unless he's going to increase his offloads. A 59.7 Supercoach average to a 62.6. That's a 2.9 increase. Again, I think he'll be a consistent scorer, but I want to find a bit more value, and I don't think I'll find it there. Fletcher Hunt, interesting one. A little 2.2 increase from 33 Supercoach average to 35.2. That's interesting because he's quite cheap. But again, the positions in the Newcastle Knights, we all need to wait and see what happens there. But again, it's good to know that someone that is a $322,700 price tag has that bit of a bump in him. So that's someone we should watch list. If you have the Supercoach app open or whatever, I'd put a watch list on his name just to make sure and see where he's put in the lineup as well. But yeah, they're all over the place until we see more in the preseason challenge. Next, we have Jermaine Hopgood, who I think is a very valuable pick. FRF, 2RF, 53 to a 55.2, only a 2.2 increase. But again, that is based off him playing in a different position. So these numbers are skewed a bit. They should be a tiny bit more because I think if he was playing the prop position the whole season, this could be around a 3 to a 4. So I really, really like it. A 2.2 increase is still nice to see for someone that's so cheap for what he can do. I honestly really do like it. $517,900 he is. So I like Hopgood. I think he should be in a lot of teams. I wonder what his ownership is now, 17%. So coming up to that 20% mark, so that's going to be really interesting to see, but a great little bump there. Brandon Smith, I'm not going to really speak about. 2.2 increase for him. Good to see from a 27.8 to a 30. Blake Brayley, not as much as Harry Grant, a 66.9 to a 68.7 for a 1.8 point increase. Nothing crazy. One here that's a little one that's good. Jermaine McEwen for the Newcastle Knights at 2RF position. 41.7 to a 43.4. That's good to see for someone that is highly considered for one of the mid prices in 2RF at the moment. But again, I don't know if I want to start with both Jermaine McEwen and Trey Mooney. I know a lot of people are going to have Ponga if he does play. Then you've got Sandon Smith. Then you've got the likes of Greg Marzu, Dylan Lucas. There's so many people from Knights that people are picking up that I wonder if Jermaine McEwen is a bit of a sit, but we'll have to wait and see. Trey Mooney, I really like a 56.5 Supercoach stat average to a 58, only a 1.5 increase, but FRF to RF position, I think he'll do really, really good, and I think he'll be one of the main men there. Everyone's worried about their forward pack. He has to step up for them to do good, and I think he can do it. And I'm mostly right now going to go into who the biggest players are that got hit. Biggest name here, which is crazy to see, David Farley, the 76 Supercoach averaged to 66, so a negative 10. That is insane to see. I mean, geez, you'd have to. He's still basement price. You don't worry about it. Let's talk about the big dogs. Let's talk about Reece Walsh. Fullback position, 85.4 average, gets hit down to an 80.2. That's minus 6.1%, which is 5.2 points decline. This really hurts because when I think about his game, I just think about him breaking the line and passing it to someone or him being the support runner. But he does a lot of the sort of Tedesco, so sort of like the cutout pass or the pass that can lead to the try, or sort of like the pass that goes to the center, then the center passes to the winger for the try, and that's going to hurt him a bit. We know his caliber. I mean, he had one of the most, if not the best, finals runs you've ever seen in NRL history. $835,600. It's not a small price tag. And I think with that hit, maybe he falls off a bit for a lot of people. He's now sitting still at a 20% ownership. The one thing that's scary about it is that their run that we've spoken about in round 4, Dolphins, Gold Coast, North Queensland, West Tigers. Now, I've spoken about this. If you can just hold off, if you can just get by with him losing a bit of money for Penrith at home, Parramatta at home, into Melbourne away, and then get him in round 4, that could be very cool. Now, if he starts off the way he ended the season, it's going to be rough. It's going to be very, very rough. However, I don't mind the pick because of their draw, but I don't like the pick because of what we're seeing here with the score changes. Kalen Ponga, he also goes down 62.2 Supercoach average to a 57.1. That's a loss of 5.1 points. I think the biggest thing is his injury. If he's in a moon boot or he's still healing or just not playing, obviously a no-go. Another big one that a lot of people were starting with, Mitchell Moses, 55.5 down to a 50.6. Negative 4.9. Really hurts to see that. Then he's going to lose less try assist chances because Zach Lomax isn't there. Now, if Zach Lomax came back to the team, I wouldn't mind that. But I think he's just a no-go for me now. Especially they have a very, very tough opening draw. They have Melbourne away, into Broncos away, into St. George at home, Penrith away. They're 3 out of 4 very tough opening games that I'd rather wait and see. Into West Tigers at home, Gold Coast at home, which are 2 nice matchups. Into Bulldogs at home, Manly away. So that's something I want to keep tabs on. I think at one point in the season he will be a grab, but maybe not to start with. All right, next is another big one. Scotty Drinkwater, 81.1 down to 76.2. That's a minus 4.9 in average. So what you're seeing now is honestly a trend of the fullbacks getting hit. Suafar Largo gets hit negative 4. Tedesco getting hit negative 4.4. Tom Trbojevic getting hit negative 4.8. Drinkwater negative 4.9. This is just Keanu Kinney getting hit minus 3.8. These are all just little hits because of the changes of the try assist. It's putting me off a bit, and it leads me towards going to someone of I guess, less risk in the fullback or just the flex going to a different position. And I think a lot of people are not going to have three fullbacks in flexes in the flex with the flex add-on, sorry, because of these changes. So I also don't know how this is equated, but Latrell Mitchell negative 2.3. That's mostly because he hasn't played in the center wing position for all of the stats that you're seeing. So I wouldn't take that into account. Even Nathan Cleary only a negative 1.1. But I'm overly just what I'm just seeing here is the trend of fullbacks losing points. The mids, the two RFs, the FRFs, and the hookers now getting points. And that's your basic scope of things for the moment. I think I'm going to leave it at that, guys. I think I've given you so much information, maybe too much information, but I'm sure Savs will share this with you guys when the time is right. But I think from what we can see here, the hooker position is going to be really a bit better now and something we have to pay attention to. And so is these little 2RF 600, 510,000 sort of players who tackle a lot, who are there for 80 minutes. That's a big plus. So, yeah, that's going to be it. That is your NRL versus Supercoach stats comparison podcast. I hope you've enjoyed, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. I hope this has helped you sort of maybe pick or put some players to the side. And I'll catch you soon. It's Wolfie here from the Rage Traders. Peace and take care.